Queen Victoria celebrated 60 years on the throne in 1887. Troops from all corners of the empire paraded in London, including a contingent of her loyal Sikhs from India. Sikhs also served the outposts of the empire in Hong Kong and Singapore. There they learned of the Chinese who were conscripted to Canada to build the railway, so vital to the promise of Confederation and to the export of huge timber forests of British Columbia to the world. Jobs lured the citizens of the empire, anxious to see the land of promise for themselves. But the effects of empire building devastated First Nations and Asian communities.
17,000 Chinese men labored on the Canadian Pacific Railway for $1 a day. Chinese workers got the most dangerous and difficult jobs. The turn of the 20th century brought a wave of optimism. Among the scattered communities on Vancouver Island was the newly established boomtown of Duncan in the lush Cowichan Valley. It was a magnet that drew farmers, miners, loggers, laborers, and those intent on business opportunities, and was open to all comers regardless of color, race, or creed, or so it appeared. Chinese immigrants, banding together for support, created a living, thriving Chinatown that housed and served hundreds of laborers. Lam Chu recalled paying $500 for the privilege of working in Canada. Su Lambing, known as Chinatown's employment boss, paid the head tax for immigrating Chinese workers who were in his debt until the tax was paid off.
On July 1st, 1923, referred to by the Chinese as Humiliation Day, Parliament passed the Chinese Immigration Act. Under this Exclusion Act, which was not repealed until 1947, fewer than 50 Chinese entered Canada.
The Chop Suey House was fairly busy at night, especially on the weekends, after the beer parlors and bars closed. It had a wide variety of patrons, from lawyers and nurses to longshoremen and Native Indians.
We used to go there just about every Sunday to have noodles. The one we went to was owned by an old man, and he used to come by our place, a Chinese old man. But we'd wait for him, and he'd come by and he'd give us oranges. He'd bring along with him, and he'd always say, "Hayo mukmuk." We never found out what that meant, "Hayo mukmuk." I guess that means something sweet, that we love something sweet in Chinese. I just learned not too long ago.
One of the most significant Sikh immigrants arrived illegally in the eyes of the government in 1917. Mayo Singh, 29, was a man who, in time, had a positive, profound, and enduring effect. Only 5'3", he was not cut out for hard labor, but he heard about big timber in the Cowichan Valley. He sought lodgings in Duncan and was turned away from both the Alderley and commercial hotels on account of his race. He was told there was a Hindu man living down the tracks in the section house south of the city. Mayo made his way on foot along the tracks. "They told me in town I could stay here." Sunder and Mayo became lifelong friends. Mayo Singh, despite difficult times, established the Mayo Logging Company and eventually a town, Paldi, named after his home village in India. At the time, this little corner of Vancouver Island was home to the largest congregation of Sikhs in Canada, a close-knit community that survived on its own merits in a foreign land. Paldi was a melting pot of cultures. All spoke a broken English unique to Paldi, started first by the men in the workplace and taken up by the children. Cultural barriers were crossed again and again every day. Despite overt racism, Mayo's hard-won position, personality, philanthropy, and policies made for high morale. He liked and helped anyone who was a good worker and needed a job, regardless of nationality or skin color.
When you worked for Mayo, if he trusted you, you were like family.
He always looked to the underprivileged people to try and help them. He always was donating to the hospitals in and around the valley and in Victoria all the time. It'd be the same as if you were living in Duncan or Lake Cowichan and all the kids get together to play, you didn't, the only difference here was there was a mixture of all the nationalities. Automatically, everybody was just a big mixing bowl, and everybody got along and played together. There was a Japanese, it was a community hall at their own church, and they used it for the Japanese school, where the Japanese kids went after their normal schooling. They went to the hall.
Prior to World War II, the Japanese Canadian community thrived in the Cowichan Valley, with Poldy having the highest concentration. After the bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941, racial tensions ran high. Over 400 members of this community vanished from the Cowichan district.
Mrs. Tomi Inoue vividly remembers the day 2 very tall RCMP officers knocked at her door. She spoke no English and was terrified by their actions. They came in looking for her husband. He was not at home. He was up at the logging camp. As she watched, petrified, the 2 officers ransacked her house and took away the radio, maps, and all of her Japanese music records. I remember all those people coming from Duncan offering to buy their furniture, cars, and other belongings real cheap. It was criminal. They took their hard-earned belongings for next to nothing.
The Japanese evacuation all happened so fast we didn't really catch on to what was happening until suddenly they were all gone.
But connections could not be broken between the races. Dear Mary, when you're taking a bath and your eyes are full of soap, think of me sometime. From your friend, Teiko Fukakusa.
Barred from returning to the coast until 1949, few ever returned. The Canadian government acknowledged the injustice of the uprooting in 1988. In 2016, the city of Duncan created Heiwa Peace Park to honor pioneers of the Japanese community. In the 1960s, with centennial funding, one of the best Chinatown blocks anywhere in small-town North America was demolished and replaced with a concrete building housing a senior center, library, and a courthouse. The Pekin Cafe became a gravel parking lot. Many were saddened to see some of the elderly residents roaming aimlessly over the ruins.
In 2013, the Chow family donated a statue of Confucius to honor community advocate Wei Sing Chow and the tenacious Chinese pioneers. The Chinese community continues to thrive in Duncan.
I will always be in awe of the privilege I have to be a caretaker of our community's history and to make it accessible to the public. The profound connection we have to our past and the power it has to alter our present cannot be underestimated.
In 2016, the Punjabi Legacy Project consulted communities about issues of racism, discrimination, and stories to preserve for future generations. In 1981, a large influx of Vietnamese refugees to the Cowichan Valley led residents to organize what is now known as the Cowichan Intercultural Society. Their mission is to facilitate mutual respect, trust, support, and education in the culturally diverse Cowichan region. The organization continues to ease the way for newcomers, most recently 12 families from Syria.